Going on YouTube, Glover Buzz here, back with another Scarlet Violet video. And today I also wanted to spotlight Iron Thorns, which has been used a little bit in some regional play and also some tournaments. And finally has some top cut results where we can actually say that this thing is actually somewhat viable. And you know, this is pretty much the only Paradox Pokemon that we haven't really covered on the channel. Mainly because it was done a little bit dirty, right? You know, if you just look at its stats, it's actually pretty good stats. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty good stats. 100 HP, 134 attack, 110 defense. Basically the same thing as Tyranitar, but the main difference with Tyranitar and Iron Thorns is, well, there's actually a few of them. Besides the typing, it's got way less special attack, which doesn't really matter anyway, because with Tyranitar, you weren't really using that special attack stat to begin with. You're losing a little bit of special defense, which was a main strength of Tyranitar, right? Because it was just super bulky in all regard. You are a little bit faster. You have about 12 points of speed, or is it 11? Versus Tyranitar, which was only like a base 61 speed. Let me just check that real quick. I believe it was 61, right? Yeah, it was 61. So you're a little bit faster than Tyranitar, but the whole point of Tyranitar is, you know, with Sandstream, and with the Sandstone and with the Rock type, you're getting a +1 special defense boost, right? So that made it really, really bulky. And now Iron Thorns, you kind of lose that, right? Because now not only is your special defense stat worse, but you don't even get the sand anymore. So in that sense, you know, your bulk is actually not as good as Tyranitar. But there is a little bit of a saving grace with Iron Thorns as opposed to T-Tar. You don't have that 4 times weakness anymore to fighting, but instead you're trading it for a 4 times weakness to ground, which isn't all that great. And one thing that Tyranitar was able to do to alleviate that 4 times weakness was to go with an Assault Vest and Tera Flying, and you're pretty much kind of doing that also with like Iron Thorns here, where you do also want an Assault Vest to give you that special defense boost as well as a Tera Flying. Okay, and we have seen this in some regional play and also some tournament play. So if we take a look at the Hartford regionals, and if we just spotlight over here at 61st place, basically the bubble over here with Juan Guzman, and you know, he had some good games on stream. But this is a really cool team with Iron Thorns here. 6-3 record, of course, earning him some 50 CP, which is actually really, really good. And if we take a look here, it is actually a Wo-Chien team, but the Wo-Chien was more or less meant to focus and support pretty much the rest of the team in general. But again, here we see that Tera Flying option here with your 2 stat moves of Wild Charge and Rock Slide and Heavy Slam. I feel like these are 3 mainstays on an Iron Thorns kind of set. So we might as well just go ahead and add that here. Wild Charge, Rock Slide, and Heavy Slam. Okay, and right away I'm already getting like Iron Thorns vibes. Iron Hands vibes, because like you had Wild Charge, you had Heavy Slam. Now you're gonna run a fighting move. Okay, and then you know you're pretty much a worse Iron Hands at this moment, but that's not completely correct, because there is a couple of things that Iron Thorns can give you that Iron Hands does not do for you. Okay, and then if we just go back to you know, Juan Guzman's team over here, Brick Break was his option of choice, which is makes a lot of sense. And again, of course, it is Tera Flying, so this way you don't have to, you know, suffer at the hands of that 4 times ground weakness. And you know, you always want a flying type here, because then you get a nice little pivot option just in case you do get Stomping Tantrum or Earthquake. You can always just pivot out into Gyarados here, and then from there, Gyarados doesn't really care for ground type attacks. And then in general, if you just take a look at this team, right? So not only do you have the Assault Vest, but now you're next to an Intimidate Pokemon like Gyarados, and now all of a sudden you're getting reduced special attacks, and now you're also getting reduced physical attack damage. So now all of a sudden the Iron Thorns gets hard to remove, and then you're just able to deal a bunch of chip damage with your Rock Slides, your Wild Charges, and your Heavy Slams. And then this last move is always like a coverage move. You know, you could even consider Tera Blast, Tera Flying over here for that matter, which, you know, a lot of Tyranitars did anyway. Okay, but there was a way, you know, and again, the problem was, you know, you're losing the sand, right? But there was a way where we can alleviate that, and we're going to show you another team where we did bring back the sand, but still paired it with Iron Thorns, and that was Scarlet Skills team over here, and he was very kind enough to provide us a rental. And what was really cool about this team is he used this in the Shane Jude's team. So if we just take a look at that team for a second here, I believe it's right over here. Yeah, right here. So the St. Jude's Charity Tournament. So it's a tournament for a good cause, and Scarlet Skill was able to get top 8 over here with this really cool set with Hippowdon and Iron Thorns. And I'm not going to really talk too much about Hippowdon over here, just because I want to cover it separately in another video, because there's a couple of Hippowdon sets that have been thriving at the moment, this being one of them. But I do want to at least mention that Hippowdon was able to bring back the sand here, and this way giving Iron Thorns back the same way Tyranitar would get the +1 boost in its special defense. So in this sense, this is a really cool idea from Scarlet Skill. But again, you can kind of see a lot of similarities between Scarlet Skill's teams and Juan Guzman's team, where they both have Gyarados here, and they both have a Fluttermane, of course. That's not a surprise. You know, they're two very common Pokemon, and of course, Fluttermane is the most popular Pokemon in regulationC, just you know, in terms of usage. And then from here, you can see Juan is trying to do stuff with the Volcarona along with the Fluttermane here. Setup plays with Giga Drain and Quiver Dance, of course, Heat Wave Pressure, whereas Scarlet Skill over here was relying more on the Chi-Yu for that matter. So you still have a Heat Wave Fire type user, but now you get a nasty plot setup with Amoonguss kind of setup over here. But instead of the Amoonguss, Juan was using the Wo-Chien, which is, you know, of course, very different than an Amoonguss, but it was his grass type of choice. And then from here, you know, what Juan is saying is, I'm going to, you know, snarl you, I'm going to reduce all kinds of damage you're going to do to me, and then I'm just going to sit behind Leech Seed and, you know, just set up from there. And then Gyarados is actually more of an offensive set with Dragon Dance. This is because the Thunder Wave speed control is coming from the Scream Tail over here, whereas Scarlet Skill is instead saying, you know what, I don't need that. I'm just going to put on a Hippowdon here to get my Sand Boost back, and then just use the Gyarados to be a supportive set, putting back Thunder Wave onto the team here with Taunt, might I add. So this is a pretty cool idea from Scarlet Skill, so shout outs to them. And again, you still get your Fire, Water, Grass core with Gyarados, Amoonguss, and Chi-Yu, whereas this Fire, Water, Grass core is relying on Volcarona, Wo-Chien, and Gyarados. And I like this trio as well, just because, again, with Volcarona, your physical defense isn't all that great, right? So that means you need some physical attack reduction, and Gyarados and Wo-Chien can really give you that here. So it's really all a matter of like these two supporting the big hitters in Iron Thorns, Volcarona, and Fluttermane over here. And then from there, you get a little bit of speed control with Thunder Wave, with the Scream Tail, and then you get Encore, which is almost like a taunt in that matter, where you're just, you know, flipping Tailwinds, flipping Trick Rooms, and then just, you know, clicking moves like even like Protect, locking them into that. So this way they have a difficult time here, right? And of course the Fluttermane is a very different set. It's a Hex set with Focus Sash here, whereas Scarlet Skill is a Choice Specs more offensive set. But other than that, you know, in terms of like what Iron Thorns is supposed to do here, you know, just looking at Juan Guzman's team here, he did have Brick Break, so that's also a good fighting move coverage. You know, it's great against the Steel types, great against Dark types, because if you consider all the Ruined Pokemon, you know, they're all Dark types, they're weak to fighting moves, so, you know, that's also Iron Thorns' niche here over here. Whereas what I'm going to do is show you this kind of set with Tera Blast, Tera Flying, you know, and if you look at Scarlet Skills, he was Tera Blast, Tera Grass, which is also interesting in itself. But what I also want to show you is at least this EV spread here that I have, or at least what my EV spread is going to be with, and that's this over here, where we're going to go with Adamant Natured 204, which is the EV bump here for Iron Thorns. And then what I'm going to do is go into 124 speed investment here. This is going to outspeed Dragapult after like Thunder Wave plays, where either you're getting it from a Gyarados or another Tailwind user on the team that you have, but I'm just assuming this is from Gyarados. And then from there, this 124 HP investment gets it to 191, so this will optimize against Sand Chip, just in case you do go for Tera Flying, even though you are a Rock type already. But then I'm going to put 44 special defense here, and what this does is it actually makes Choice Specs Modest 116 Fluttermane Moonblast a 3-hit KO, right? And I had that calc here, if I can just bring it up. All right, so this is my set, and here is that calc here. So Fluttermane Moonblast, 41 to 49%, which is pretty much what I was aiming for, getting that 3-hit KO. And of course, you're able to also survive a Hydro Pump from an Iron Bundle thanks to the Assault Vest. So you're sitting comfortably against those two. You're able to deal heavy damage with heavy slam into the Fluttermane, picking up the KO. You're able to rock slide the Iron Bundle. You know, you're just doing super effective damage from there. And then in general, just if you look at the meta, right? If I were to just bring in Pikalytics and just show you how good this set is against a lot of the meta mons. So if I just bring this over here, okay, and if we just start with Fluttermane here. So we already just discussed how we're able to KO it with Heavy Slam here. Then the Amoonguss, you can just, again, literally Tera Flying, Tera Blast it for super effective damage. Now, that being said, that's not enough to KO it, especially if it's a physically defensive Amoonguss, like a relaxed natured one. So then you can go to sleep in that regard, which is probably why, you know, Scarlet Skill opted for, you know, Tera Grass in that sense. But it's also good to have Tera Grass to just be able to resist water type attacks from either like Palafin or like an Iron Bundle for that matter. So that also gives you that, and of course you get the immunity to Amoonguss. So yeah, go figure that. And of course you're able to resist the ground coverage there. So, you know, Tera Grass is also really, really good for Iron Thorns. So that makes a lot of sense. But as we go down this list here, again, Ting-Lu, you know, again, a ground type here. Again, just with Tera Flying, you're able to dodge that completely and chip it down slowly. So you can pretty much make that a neutral matchup, or, you know, because none of your attacks are super effective against Ting-Lu, you're just relying on Tera Blast here, chipping it down. Chi-Yu, again, as we said, you're able to do super effective rock damage, as well as the Qianpao and the Arcanine. They don't really want to take rock damage either. Same thing with Dragonite, especially if it goes Tera Flying, then you just have a super effective electric type attack into it. Iron Bundle, we already mentioned. Palafin, again, Tera Grass is pretty good from Scarlet Skill's point of view. But again, we also are able to, you know, resist that thanks to Intimidate. And then from there, we're just able to KO it with something like a Wild Charge. Iron Hands, this one's the only like iffy one, you know, just because it's somewhat of an even matchup. But again, it has a fighting move, you know, against you, which you are a rock type. So from there, maybe not so much of an advantage there, or even neutral. I think Iron Hands does get the best of you there. But if you look at the rest of the list as you keep going down, Gyarados, again, you have rock coverage, you have 4 times a super effective move, you know, because you're an electric type. Dondozo, Glimmora, same idea. You have super effective moves against them. Annihilate, Tera Blast, Tera Flying, rips through it. Okay, same thing with Great Tusk. And also, by the way, with this spread, might I add, if you just even put in Great Tusk here, and then just put in a standard Great Tusk set. So it looks like you die from like Earthquake / Headlong Rush, but if you're able to intimidate it with your Gyarados, you actually do take the Earthquake damage, and then you're just able to potentially, you know, KO it right back with some other move here, right? If it is low enough, all right? But if we keep going down this list, King Gambit. So this is where the fighting move comes into play, whether it be like Brick Break, so you're able to do big damage there. Back Scalper, you're able to click Rock Slide, of course, and then from there, look, Mousehold, Talonflame, they can't really do much to Iron Thorns either, right? So look at all the Pokemon that you're able to do relatively well against with the coverage that you get with the Assault Vest Iron Thorns here. So it's actually a really, really interesting Pokemon, a really, really cool Pokemon to have. If we just go into Scarlet skill sets, actually, I do have his spread, even though, you know, because he did provide the rental code, so I was able to at least plug it in that way. It's pretty much this, where he went for 220 HP. Okay, and then from there, it was just a 204 attack. Basically the same thing that we had, where you're pushing it to the bump. And then from there, you have 12 defense with a little bit of speed F. 60 is what he was going for, and then just a little bit of speed. So our Iron Thorns is a little bit faster than his Iron Thorns. But again, he's more bulkier, even though he is slower. So, but again, with his Assault Vest set, he does have the same staples, like with Wild Charge, Rock, Slide, all right, and then Heavy Slam, of course, and then from there, it's Tera Blast, I believe. Yeah, Tera Blast, Tera Grass, okay? So it really just depends on you, whether you want Tera Flying or Tera Grass. I feel like they're both two of the best Tera options that you can have on an Iron Thorns, as far as like in terms of what it might struggle with. But pros and cons to each of the Tera options. But again, I feel like in both teams, there are some similarities, but of course some differences, just based on like the fact that you still have some different mons here, you know, doing different things. But, you know, in terms of type synergy, you have some similarities. You do have a Gyarados, you do have a Fluttermane. It's a Volcarona instead of a Chi-Yu. So from there, it gets a little interesting, right? But you can definitely see the similarities into how you can use Iron Thorns here. So Again, I just wanted to spotlight it. So, you know, if you're interested in trying out, definitely consider Scarlet Skill and, you know, just trying out his team. And again, we're gonna look at his team again in another video when we look at Hippowdon. But I feel like Iron Thorns, you know, it has some chances, all right? I'm not gonna lie, it does have some chances. It just needs to be put on the right team, and you have 2 sample teams already that is able to do that. You know, I don't have Juan Guzman's rental code, of course, but you do have Scarlet Skills here, so you might as well just try his out. So shout outs to him, okay? But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Let me know what you think of Iron Thorns here. Hopefully you liked our spotlight showcase, and hopefully you liked you know, just what we talked about in terms of its coverage and what it can potentially do here. Because I feel like it's not completely useless by any means. It just needs to be explored and used on the right kind of team. And that's what it's all about in terms of like using niche Pokemon. You know, they're not going to be as splashable as Fluttermane or, you know, as like Arcanine and Amoonguss by any means. So you have to spend some time exploring different sets and trying out different combinations. And you know what? A lot of what you try is not going to work, but that's okay. That's the process of testing and team building, because until you find that combination for a niche Pokemon, you know, it's going to take some work. It's going to take some trial and error. There's nothing where you're able to get it right on the first try. And again, like we said, originally we wrote this thing off, but now all of a sudden it is able to find some play because it does have a niche in the meta at the moment. It just needed to be explored, right? So that's going to do it for now. And again, if you're interested in coaching on the channel where we show you how to build EV spreads like this and how to do damage calcs and how to just put a team together for either rank ladder play, an upcoming regional, or you know, an online tournament, check out the channel. In terms of coaching, we do offer it. It's a tier 3 sub. So if you take a look at the video description below, if you take a look at the comment section, we do have a link where you can click and sign up for coaching on the channel. It is a team building session, so we sit down in a Discord call, we hash out all the EVs, we build the team from scratch, and if we do have enough time, we also test it out a little bit on the rank ladder. So if that is something you're interested in, if you're trying to get ready for these upcoming regionals and you need help building a team, definitely take a look and consider coaching on the channel. But that's going to do it for now, guys. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good night.